Yeah, it's just like I don't trust him for even like a split second. I know in my first playthrough, I know from my first playthrough I did 5 years ago, that I did close the border. I don't remember what happened after that, though. By the way, I like how Pepsi, they made it so that whenever you take a drink, you have to show the logo out. They really knew how to market their drinks here. Okay. Katana Security Pact, what's going on with you? The Katana Security Pact has outlawed private military companies, prioritizing state-regulated forces, and, as a secondary measure, citizen militias and revolutionaries to uphold security within its territories. The alliance emphasizes the state's capacity and responsibility to ensure its boundaries, viewing citizen militias as democratic assets when necessary, rather than relying on profit-driven military organizations. The band aims to maintain the rule of law within its territories and reinforce state sovereignty. By distinguishing between profit-driven military operations and responsibilities of the state towards the citizens, the decision highlighted the ideological differences between from the ATO. Okay. We have no more news to report. And ATO brokers a peace amidst Rizian claims, Lesbia mediates. Amidst rising tensions triggered by Rizia's territorial claims over the Arias gas fields and the pressure exerts from Peles, the ATO has issued an advisory caution against potential disturbances in the region's stability. The advisory is coupled with the ATO's commitment to protect the interests of its member states, both economically and strategically. Lesbia, a key ATO member and home of the Less Power Corporation, and significant power in the energy industry, is stepping in to mediate the dispute, seeking to avert a potentially destabilizing conflict over the lucrative gas field. The ATO stance on the dispute, particularly given Lesbia's involvement, highlights the readiness of the project to protect the strategic interest and its capability for diplomacy and managing regional tensions. This proactive diplomatic intervention and the economic stakes involved emphasize the importance of Varis's gas field as an asset, underscoring significance in maintaining a geopolitical balance. Okay, and a speech to the president on the reforms. I came to the Grand National Assembly in Sordland to deliver a speech regarding the new constitution and ask for the support of the assembly before the upcoming vote. He does hold up his end of the deal, but there are domestic and international consequences. Well, I mean, I would imagine so. I walked through the corridors, giving my greetings to the people on my way towards the parliamentary hall. When I entered the hall, the assembly was in complete chaos, with shouting and cursing between the parties, with a heavily argumented about the proposal made by an MP of the NFP. I took my seat inside a special area reserved for the ministers. Gloria was shouting from her seat at the center of the hall, and she hit the gavel 3 times, with each strike heavier than the one before. Order! Order! I saw Casero Kibner standing up from his seat and shouting towards members of the PFJP. Mr. Kibner, calm yourself. Show respect for the procedures of the assembly. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes, where everybody took their seats and finally went quiet. Mr. Kibner, next time when I tell you to do so, either take your seats or leave the hall, so we continue with the procedures of this assembly and continue our duties. Some MPs from the NFP side shouted back at her in protest. Excuse me. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to continue, she pointed at me. We have the president here with us today, and he is asked to give an important announcement. The assembly fell silent. You got the floor, Mr. President. I walked to the stand as loud claps started from the USB side. Honorable members of the Assembly of Sordland, I am here today to raise an important question regarding our outdated constitution. Separation of power. You know what? Talk up how important the Assembly is. Our elected assembly has always been overshadowed by the executive and a designated judiciary branch of Sordland. The Grand National Assembly must be able to exercise its job properly and without obstruction. However, our current constitution fails to guarantee this. I continued. Changes. Therefore, we propose changes to the constitution to prepare Sordland for a more democratic era. Applause came from the USP and the PFJP seats. Let's go with number 2. We rebalance the branches of government to ensure a more democratic process. I focus on peace. I mean, unity is always a good choice. People love unity. Change can be a little bit more divisive. Peace is like, I don't know. Let's go unity. It is important that, it's more important now than ever that we stand united as a nation in these changing times. I call everybody to be part of the change that our people have been calling for. We all want to make Sordland better, don't we? Let's embrace democracy and unite under the banner of our own people. And surely Sordland will be great again. We will make Sordland great again. Loud noises came from the USP and the NFP seats. I took a deep breath and continued. I ask everyone to think clearly about our current situation and join us for change. Be part of a new era of Sordland. Join us and vote for our proposal. Let's write the future together. Oh, yeah, of course we're going to finish it with a poem, of course. There is a victory growing with every morning. There is my country beyond everything, my beloved. There is a spring that blossoms out of the grave of our fallen. Fear not when the dark falls. There's an artist painting the sky. Beyond the next morning, there's a victory waiting to be won. The assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. Some applause came from the PFJP and the USB seats. Most of the others started to make loud noises again. Thank you for your speech, Mr. President. I walked back to my seat as many MPs started to speak. Or asked to speak. Franz Victor was among them. Yes, Mr. Victor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Or Mrs. Speaker, sorry. I would like to thank the President for his speech. We, the People's Freedom and Justice Party, stand in agreement with the need for a more democratic constitution. We would like to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the USP for their open attitude compared to past years. As long as Mr. President's words prove not to be just words, we will be behind this much-needed movement for change. We welcome this attempt. I ask Mr. President to share the final content of the proposal as soon as possible. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. Suddenly, Casero Kibner started yelling from his seat. The President must have lost his mind to cooperate with the likes of you, Mr. Richter. You and the PFG are nothing but puppets of Western interest. Order! Madam Speaker, I know you are in agreement with me as well. Don't stand idly there while this administration is making deals with snakes and undermining the integrity of SOAR. Order, Mr. Kibner. How many times do I need to say you are speaking out of I demand to speak? Gloria gave him a stare. She looked annoyed. Very well, Mr. Kibner. You're really getting into it. Yeah, I mean, it kind of hurt my throat a little bit. Very well, Mr. Kibner. Go ahead. Mr. President. He looked directly at me. The nationalist movement does not agree with your priorities, nor the way that you're trying to implement them. The National Front Party will not stand with you on your new constitution. Let it be known that the NFP's concerns are not included in the so-called democratic reform. Thus, Mr. President, it has no right to claim them as such. We must stand our ground against any attempt to bring down the established political culture and national values. Thank you. Kisoro went back to his seat, but the chaos in the assembly continued. Of course I'm going to ask to speak. Yes, Mr. President. Let's go with Mr. Kibner. Mr. Kibner. We're not specifically cooperating with someone, but everyone. We ask that you also join us. He watches the slouch in his seat, legs crossed. He's pouting. He's mad. We don't need you. Don't stand against change. Be part of it, Mr. Kibner. We can do so much together. And we will bring about change regardless of your support. Gloria looked at me to see if I had finished my response. Mr. Rickner! I know I put an end in there. Rest assured your concerns will be addressed. And thank you for your support. We look forward to working with you. And thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm done. I'm all out. The MPs kept shouting and responding to each other, creating a loud mess with where nothing was legible. Order! Order! This topic is finished. We are going to move on to the next topic. I slowly left the hall. The shouting could be heard from every corridor of the Grand National Assembly. Well, okay. Oh, it's the end of it's the end of the turn. Okay. What's going on in the news before we end up here? President Rayne has called on the Grand National Assembly of Sordland to support the upcoming constitutional changes in his address in the Parliament. The President's address came after a series of meetings within the USP, which probably involved discussions about the new constitution. President Rayne talked about the many main points that are proposed changed and revealed that the current drafts will be looked over again with leaders of the PFJP before it will be proposed in Parliament. Our elected leaders in the Assembly have been overshadowed by the executive and the designated judiciary branches of Sordland, said President Rayne, criticizing the power of the Supreme Court, as well as the very office that he's holding. This statement was met with surprise and was welcomed by Franz Richter of the PFJP. The Grand National Assembly must be able to exercise its job properly and without obstruction. However, our current constitution fails to guarantee this, said President Rayne, showing that he is willing to bring changes that would elevate the Parliament's position. This is my first time playing. No, I played it when it came out 5 years ago, but I have not played since. As tensions between Agnoli and Vagzlan keep climbing, the latest addition to the escalations happened yesterday on the Vagzlanian channel, with the Vagzlanian ships advancing on the perimeter around the island. According to Agnolian sources, yesterday in the morning, the Agnolian battleship Van Kilben, A387, was intercepted by Vagzlanian destroyer Stansian and warned them to move out of Agnolian waters. The Vagzlanian captain did not respond to the communication, but both ships backed away from the scene after several hours of standstill. Seeing this event as Vagzlan is putting more pressure on the island, our Acadian President Dwight Walker warned the Vagzlanian Navy, saying that we will not tolerate any attempts to trigger an incident on international waters. I call around Mr. Hagel to pull your ships back immediately. And I think we have a report. 121 signatures behind the proposal. Efforts are underway to increase the support and reach necessary numbers to 150. Okay. That seems good to me. And we'll continue. The wealth of nations. Okay. What's going on in the news? Bolstering the economy. Central Bank Reinforcement Act. The Central Bank Reinforcement Act is poised to bolster the strength and stability of our national currency and overall economy, with provisions for accumulating foreign exchange reserves, adopting a prudent fiscal policy, and supporting high export potential industries. The Act presents a well-rounded approach to economic resilience. By fostering a stable economic development environment, the Act could spur foreign investment and improve our credit rating. The Grand National Assembly moves forward with this Act. The eyes of investors, both domestic and foreign, will undoubtedly be on Sordland. The latest reports coming out of the Ministry of Health regarding the current situation and the need for privatization raise a serious question about the gargantuan scale of effort required to solve the structural issues in health in Sordland. One part of the report about the threat of potential epidemic being a real stands as the highlights the problems of the current voluntary vaccination policy. Minister Benevol has increased his calls for more fiscal resources to be able to make more changes to welfare within one term to cover existential issues like epidemic prevention. They've been talking a lot about a potential epidemic, so I got a feeling they're going to have like some sort of like COVID event at some point. I don't know when though. The report on the potential effects of privatization. Report of potential effects on privatization also included the downsides of what damage private interest could do inside a system of healthcare. However, the minister pointed out that a small-scale implementation, the one it proposes, would be able to deliver results efficiently. No political leader in Sordland can survive in office without some support of the general staff. President Anton Rayne was a leader who learned his lesson the hard way. In 1927, a military coup brought an end to his short time as president, and later President Alfonso became a target of alleged conspiracy by the Old Guard, who were known to be very close to the general staff of the Swedish Armed Forces. Though nowadays fewer officers assume the role of political leaders, military influence continues to have major repercussions in politics across Eastern Makopa. According to a report by the Alliance of Nations, Sordland is one of the most influential militaries in the region, coming just behind Valent, where the actions of the generals indicate a serious military intervention in politics. As the reports show, men in uniform still enjoy considerable influence on politics in Sordland, and nothing to be done to reverse the situation, despite the country's history of coups and civil war. What governing departments we fund healthcare and education, and we didn't cut anything. Okay. Rizyia and Rumburg sign economic cooperation deal. Rumburg gains naval base rights. King Rumis Torres of Rizyia visited Thornborough to meet with the Queen Beatrice Livingston of Rumburg and sign a significant economic cooperation deal. As part of the agreement, Rumburg has been granted naval base rights in Rizyia, including Port Drazon, Onyx, and Calabis Island. The deal is expected to strengthen the alliance between the two nations and bolster regional security. The economic cooperation deal also involves provisions for joint investment in infrastructure projects, trade liberalization, and collaboration in research and development, aiming to promote prosperity and stability in the region. In return, Rizyia is set to benefit from Rumburg's military expertise and advanced technology, enhancing its defensive capabilities amid rising tensions in Mercopa. The signing ceremony was attended by high-ranking officials and diplomats from both countries, who expressed optimism about the potential benefits of the agreement. Okay, fantastic. So what do we got in our reports in Agnolia? General elections held in Agnolia this week resulted in a victory for the Nurista Democratic Union of Agnolia for a second time, with its leader Martin van Horten continuing his duties as Prime Minister. Fantastic. We have a report going on in Deer. President Felix Braun has reported increased Bloodish Freedom Front support in Bloodish-dominated neighborhoods of Deer and in Allabergia. To address the issue, the government has proposed dividing these communities and resettling Sordland and Bloodish people to achieve a cultural balance in the special zone. The governor believes this approach will limit influences in the BFF and reduce the risk of secessionist activities in the region. However, some officials claim that these measures would directly go against the Constitution, and the governor of the special zone does not have the authority to enact such policies. This proposal still has raised concerns among some officials who fear it could be implemented, which would lead to further ethnic tension and social unrest. I think so. His plan basically is just to make settlements, essentially, of Sordish people in these Bloodish neighborhoods, which I'm sure would go over swimmingly. The Minister of Health has finalized a privatization proposal plan in order to increase the resources of the health system and to increase the quality of services through small-scale market competition. Additionally, the ministry's report highlighting the weaknesses Sordland has when it comes to potential epidemic. Mr. Benevol reported that much more could be achieved through the healthcare system if the private sector could slightly assist in generating revenue streams and adding new services. Okay. The General Staff has convened at the Ministry of Defense today to assess security conditions in Sordland. More than 20 high-ranking officers were in attendance and discussed several war plans, the internal stability of the nation, and the overall state of the armed forces. And a meeting with Josef Lencia. Okay, it's time to meet with the generals once again. I arrived at the cubic building that housed most of the military command that resided in Hullisord. The gray and brutalist building looked daunting. I never liked the building. It always made me feel like I was standing under a concrete foot of a giant, getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small, and I never quite got used to the feeling, even after this many years. At the entrance, I was greeted by Josef and his military entourage of young fall officers. Welcome to the Ministry of Defense, Mr. President. Let's go to my office. We walked from corridor to corridor to reach the office. On the way, we met with high-ranking officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted. We finally arrived at Josef's office. His entourage saluted us and left. He closed the door and took a seat. Where's Vulcan? He never usually partakes in military meetings. Vulcan is busy at the moment, overseeing the defense strategies against Rumburg. He leaned back and interlocked his hands. The situation in Rumburg is getting worse, and our lack of funding in the military means that we could face survival in a fight for survival in a war scenario. What are our options in improving the situation? We are making all the necessary preparations, but any substantial military support from other nations, we would be welcome to turn against Rumburg. Our recent military partnership we've signed with Agnolia includes a mutual defense clause. In case of conflict, we will be obliged to come to each other's aid. In the case of Rumburg invasion, they will come to help. Do you think that Sir Bort would be enough to hold the line? I don't think so. Mr. President, we need stronger allies. Sure, Agnolia is better than nothing, but we must look further. Lesbia or Voxland are options in my opinion. I mean, I think we also need more friends. He's not wrong. Any deterrence should force him to think twice. Joseph clears his throat. Let's move on to the main topic. Voxland hates you now? I'm a charmer. I'm a charmer, okay? Voxland has never dealt with a guy as charming as me. We'll get him on side. I'll at least meet with them. The mandatory conscription law has become a matter of discussion, and we need to strike a decision whether to keep or remove it. The facts are that the conscription gives us a large reservist pool that can cover a large front line, but these troops lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. My argument would be to remove conscription if our military can stand on its own 2 feet without them. If we are going to have strong allies, why do we need conscripts? Strong knock on the door was heard, and the chief of armed forces, Vatican Kruger, walked in quickly with a frown. What is the meaning of this, Joseph? Why wasn't I invited? What's going on here? You were overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the president. Vulcan deliberated on the situation. I see what's going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I'm leading the ground operations, and I must be informed of any strategic changes. He's your superior. Military needs to be on the same page. Well, okay, you know what? Now that they're here, what's your opinion on conscription? The matter is rather simple from my point of view. We kept our traditional army doctrine, and it's not devoid of disadvantages. However, at the end of the day, Rumburg has a larger army, air force, and navy. Our conscripts will fill the much-needed weaknesses that we have. We need a better army. Have a point. I mean, throwing bodies at the problem will never solve it. Not sure if this is the right approach. Well, we can't have less troops on the front line than the enemy. Not with our current structure focused on mass mobilization. I would ask you to consider. You know what? Let's remove conscription for now. Okay. Just for the time being, okay? If we get invaded, then surely people want to join us in droves anyway. Probably. Let's look over my documents and see if there's anything else of concern. You also checked his folder before looking at me. I mean, that's about it. I won't take any more of your time, sir. You know, I'll salute him. I'll salute this man. I left the Ministry of Defense and returned to the Maroon Palace. Okay, I mean, it was a short meeting. It could have been a phone call, okay? Let's just say that. It could have been a phone call. Okay, what's going on in the situation? Lack of reservists. Look, it's not a big deal, okay? I mean, the economy's going back down, but I mean, it's a real up and down situation, okay? But we are going to succeed because we can't fail, right? That's not going to happen. This operation for local police force resulted in the capture of 24 suspected Red Youth members who were found guilty of carrying illegal weapons. Okay, and Jen, police raid on Young Swords. We got a women's rights march. A group of demonstrators led by representatives from the Swordish League of Women marched in Enrica, calling for gender equality in Sordland's public education system. Women were among the counter-protesters who argued to keep the right of educating girls separately from boys in order to preserve Swordish tradition. Okay. What's going on in Deer? Governor Felix Braun has issued a resettlement order, allowing the eviction of British citizens suspected of supporting the BFF and dividing up their communities. This policy has caused controversy and backlash, with many seeing it as a violation of the Constitution and calling for the judiciary to strike the order down. The order is seen as a violation of human rights, an attempt to target the British community. The governor argues that it is necessary for security reasons and to combat the BFF's influence in the region, and claim that his authority as the governor of Bergia gives him the legal right to pursue such policies for peace and stability in the region. The situation remains tense, and it's uncertain how this policy will affect the fragile social fabric of Bergia. Probably really badly would be my guess. Okay, nuclear breakthrough. The ATO has proudly announced a major nuclear breakthrough that promises not only to revolutionize its military capabilities, but also greatly enhance its energy sector. The New Deal, or the newly developed technology, showcases the scientific prowess of the Alliance and reinforces strategic positioning on the global stage. This state-of-the-art technology combines novel nuclear reactor designs and advanced materials that could potentially make nuclear power safer, more efficient, and more sustainable. Sorry, just 1 second. For the military, this means the development of compact and powerful reactors for naval vessels, increasing their endurance and operational capabilities. In the energy sector, this nuclear breakthrough could mean a cleaner and more plentiful source of power, helping to meet the escalating global demand for energy and addressing concerns about climate change. The ATO helps this innovation will usher a new era of sustainable growth and energy independence for its member nations. Okay, what's going on in Haldesor? The economic situation. Okay, like I understand, it's not great. Okay, I know that. Team gathered in Hollisword at the Ministry of Economy to go over the current economic situation. The building was constructed in 1892 by Henry Walt, possibly the most famous architect in Sordland. It was a simple and elegant structure, with a few of the signature domes spreading over the roof. I walked through the large bronze doors. 2 assistants led me upstairs to the meeting room. Everyone stood up as I entered, buttoning their suit jackets. "Welcome, Mr. President. Please, take your seats, take your seats." Everyone took their seats. As you know, today we're going to go over our economic status. Let's begin without further ado. How are we doing in terms of our infrastructure? The first months have positive indicators, but the delay of the infrastructure project reversed economic gains. Mikhail frowned and put his fingers on his chin. Why couldn't we solve the H3 highway construction issues? The National Business Council isn't happy with the lack of tangible economic improvements at all. Focusing on future investments. Okay, focusing on future investments is better as more opportunities are surely on the horizon, if the budget allows it. Agreed. Any reliance on credit could endanger our future. David, do we have any deals on our any stats on our deals with Agnolia? Our trade deal with Agnolia has increased our imports and exports by 25% in just 1 month, which is more to be expected in the future. But higher prices of Agnolian steel did not result in a trade surplus. I mean, yeah, we should look for more trade partners. We can make much more and increase our presence in the region. Hello, Ahmet. How are you? I agree. Not just for the region. We should target for more deals internationally. We should see about improving our relationship with Agnolia as a stepping stone to expand positive influence. I support our foreign investments, our initiatives and partners as democratic as Agnolia. I agree. Aligning ourselves with more democratic countries is good for Sordland. The economy isn't tanked, okay? It's just kind of floundering a bit. But it will improve in due time. It's good for overall trade with other countries as well. Democratic countries generate more trust in general. On a side note, consumer spending has decreased further due to a pessimistic mood caused by our economic issues. I'm confident that we will turn this mood around with adaptive projects and solutions. It's good to hear. We will do better. While I agree that our first attempts were not successful, we still might have economic opportunities left. It isn't good for our reputation. The people are expecting quick solutions. We're running out of time. The Central Bank has begun working on a bill with the Grand National Assembly to increase our preparedness for future damaging economic incidents. The NBC will also lend support to the analysis and contingency plans regarding the ongoing developments. And I'm looking forward to future collaboration between our departments to solve upcoming issues. Simon checked his large dossier. Our treasury is in danger. It isn't a dangerous amount of debt. If we don't reduce our debt in the future, we might fall into a debt crisis or worse. What are your suggestions for tackling this? Well, I will work on some proposals regarding taxes to generate further revenues. As per the latest data for the ministry, the recession unfortunately seems to be lingering still in some economic areas. No matter the cost, we will have to increase our economic development rates. Otherwise, I am sad to say that we will be doomed. We need to use opportunities that we have, that we've been given. Trade deals and infrastructure improvements always help. Mr. President, I'll be very clear. Suzerain took off his glasses and put them on the table. He looked me straight in the eye. You already know this, and I don't want to frighten you, but we are unable to stop the recession. We're heading towards an economic catastrophe that has never been seen before in Sordland. This is killing my eyes right now. No, in all of Eastern Mercopa. I can't begin to imagine how we'll survive that. None of us want to see Sordland citizens starve, while the state is unable to provide for its citizens. Then we need to get to work. Exactly. He puts on his glasses. Now, there are a few methods we can use to tackle the recession. Our debt situation is awfully bad, and I heavily advise any further expenditures. However, I will still present new projects and lead a decision to you, Mr. President. There are two main distinctions between these projects. It's either about continuing our infrastructure improvements or investing in increasing production. If we continue working on our infrastructure, that will lift us up to advanced country levels. However, industrial production also needs a boost to return to pre-recession levels. There is, of course, the option to not take any risk related to our budget. The plans for these projects will be finalized soon. For now, I can provide preliminary information. Which one would you like to hear about first? What about infrastructure? How's that going? For infrastructure, we have 2 projects. One is the Benfi International Airport, and the other is the Morna Port. Benfi is growing at a rapid pace, and would benefit from an international airport. Much more money can be made there too. Hey David, have you been here the whole time? The Morna Port will boost trade and improve the flow of goods towards Hollisord. Because the Conrad port is too small in capacity, an extension is blocked by some of Navy headquarters. I mean, getting more trade, I think, is always going to be good. Mornia could be a more significant city with a port and advanced logistics connection to Hollisord. It would be better utilized. I don't think investing in Mornia with a port would do much to change their economic prospects. Goods are flowing from other places just as fast. Increased imports and exports are on a more accessible path to Hollisord is very lucrative in my opinion. Time is money. I agree with Edith. The Mornia Port will mean a great deal to our trade and improve the economy of the Lowland region too. Okay, what about our production? For production, we have 2 projects. One is the Sarnia Agricultural Zone, and the other is the Conrad Industrial City. I see the Sarnia Agricultural Zone investment as a higher priority due to the fact that farmers in Bergia were the most hit with the recession. Sarnia is also a much poorer city than Conrad. But the Conrad Industrial City project has potential to increase manufacturing in the greater Hollisord region by a large amount. I mean, if we're worried about like food insecurity, then investing in agricultural seems good. David, shut up. You're our foreign thought minister, not our domestic policy. Sarnia is a much poorer city indeed. It deserves any investment we can get from the government. The recession has hit the farmers of Sarnia particularly hard. Besides the agricultural output, this would also boost our economy. The investment won't be able to recover the industry there. Conrad, on the other hand, would bring about more financial gain. Our government has the opportunity to support agricultural, and we should take it. It would increase our exports too. Okay, what are we going to do? Okay, you know what? I have a couple more questions. Okay. Edith, how strong is our current economy? Or how strong is our currency, sorry. Currency health and economic output improved the Sordland post-election, but due to the recent development, our currency value has decreased. There is an observable losses at the central bank when we are comparing pre-election levels, but we see that the inflation has increased by 10 percentage points. Okay, Mikhail, how is the mood at the NBC? Business leaders in the council are nervous about the lack of tangible economic improvements in the country. They are holding on their investments until they feel safe to invest their reserves in new hires or branches. And David, how is our trade looking? Our success in reaching a trade proposal has boosted our position in regional trade routes and increased the likeliness of potential trade partners. We have imported and exported much more across the board with all countries except for Rumburg. Well, thank you everybody for your for your lovely work here. Okay, see you soon. Bye bye. Love ya. Operation Bear Trap. Okay, so that is Valent. Oh, it's right here. There it is. I see it on the map. We have 14 pieces of news? What are people writing about these days? Holy. Okay. A lawsuit was filed by Ishvel Ersin, a blooded civil rights activist, against Governor Felix Braun, is causing concern around the country. Mr. Ersin's argument that the special zone and the governor's policies infringe upon the rights of blooded citizens is unfounded and ignores the need for security and stability in the region. Mr. Ersin even calls for the articles of the Constitution that gives everyone's rights Mr. Ersin even calls the articles of the Constitution that gives everyone rights as racist, openly attacking the Swedish Constitution with purely political motivations. Governor Braun's policies, including the resettlement order, has been recently put in place to combat influence of the BFF and to maintain peace in the region. The British citizens suspected of supporting the BFF have been given ample opportunity to prove their loyalty to the state, and those who have refused to do so have been rightfully evicted from their communities. The courts will undoubtedly see the reason in Governor Braun's policies and reject Isfeld Eriksson's lawsuits. The special zone was created to ensure the security and prosperity of the region, and the government will not allow it to be dismantled by those who seek to undermine the state's authority. Okay. Housewives march to defend Swordish tradition. As the Swordish League of Women spearheaded a march for the so-called education, equality, and Enrica, a group of self-proclaimed happy housewives led a counter-protest. Their argument is that putting girls out of the handicraft classes and forcing them into science classes alongside boys would be an affront to Swordlish tradition. And those co-ed restrooms in schools would be and that the co-ed restrooms in schools would be the next logical step. We at the House Sword Post hope President Rayne will make sure the same decision and not fall into the trap of presuming unnecessary changes in the classrooms. Next thing you know, they're putting litter boxes in there. It's going crazy. Fight against the BFF. Governor Felix Braun of Bergia has used his emergency powers yesterday, enacting the resettlement order aimed at the BFF's threats inside the cities of Bergia. The governor's resettlement order has sparked controversy and outrage. Many critics claim that it is a violation of human rights, an attempt to target the Bloodish community. However, we believe that the governor's policy is necessary to combat the Bloodish Freedom Front's influence and maintain security in the region. The governor has the legal right to pursue such policies for peace and stability, and his actions should be supported. It is clear that the BFF's propaganda has deeply infiltrated many schools and religious communities in Bloodish majority areas, and the government must take immediate action to prevent further radicalization of young people. While some may see the resettlement order as extreme, it is also necessary to step to protect the safety and well-being of citizens in Bergia. We urge the judiciary to not listen to the BFF propaganda and consider the governor's authority and the urgent need for security measures before making any decision about striking down the resettlement order. Sounds like a death knell for one of Sordland's proudest traditions. President Anton Rayne has just removed the country's mandatory conscription requirement. We can therefore prepare not only for a smaller army and decreased defensive capabilities, but for a future generation of young men to have no idea how to hold a gun or follow marching orders. This newspaper's male staffers remembered their time in the army as one of their most cherished formative experiences. It remains to be seen how Swordish boys will develop a sense of national identity and self-determination without it. What's going on in The Economist? Swordish State Corporation delays highway construction. As expected, the Swordish State Corporation failed to meet their deadlines and announced a delay in the much-expected H3 highway project. We are unsure why presidents decided to pick the company other than Underhill Construction for the task of this scale. There is now a lot of uncertainty around the finish date of the project and whether it will be completed during the first term of President Rayne. However, at least one thing is certain: picking Swordish State Corporation as the main contractor was a recipe for disaster. The Central Bank Reinforcement Act, currently under consideration, would be a key measure in fortifying Sordland's national currency and overall economy. With a focus on bolstering foreign exchange rates, fiscal prudence, and supporting the high export potential industries, the bill offers a holistic response to economic challenges. This comprehensive approach ensures that our economy is well equipped to navigate fluctuations on the global market. As Sordland stands on the brink of potential economic change, this act will provide a support needed to steer our course confidently. Okay. The recent resettlement order, issued by Governor Felix Braun, has sparked outrage among the Bloodish population, as well as the Workers' Party of Blodia. Our deficit is terrifying. It's only a -6. You can go to -20. So basically, we actually have like $14 free that we can do whatever the hell we want with. That's the way I see it. Okay. Recent resettlement order issued by President Governor Felix Braun has sparked outrage among the Bloodish population. The governor's policy has been condemned as a violation of basic human rights and an attack on the Bloodish community. The Bloodish people are calling for their civil liberties and human rights to be respected and demand an end to the governor's policies, which they believe are unfairly targeting them. This policy is only possible in the special zone, a concept that many Bloodish people want to see abolished. The immense power wielded by the governor of the special zone is seen as a threat to the fragile social fabric of Bergia. The situation is tense, and as Bloodish people, as well as the supporters in political parties, are calling for immediate action to stop the governor's policies. It remains to be seen how this will play out, but many believe that the only way to address issues is to abolish the special zone, is to strip the governor of his immense powers. Because, yeah, like, we can spend, like, $14 more. It's the same reason I have, like, $34,000 of credit card debt. It's because if you have the limit, you got to spend the money or else you're not going to make any money back, right? I pay 45% interest, and the people of Sordland should be happy to pay that same interest as well. Ishmael Ersin, a lawyer and Bloodish civil rights activist, has filed a lawsuit against Governor Felix Braun for infringing upon the constitutional rights of equality before the law. Harrison argues that the special zone and Governor Braun's policies, including the controversial resettlement order, infringes upon the rights of property of British citizens and violates their rights of citizens of Sordland. The case has been appealed to the Court of Appeals and is currently under review by the Minister of Justice. Harrison claims that Articles 6 and 7 of the Constitution are in direct conflict with the institution of the special zone and Governor Braun's policies, which allows for separate treatment of British citizens of Bergia and beyond. If the court decides to agree with Ishval Harrison's arguments, the case would open a way to amend Article 6 and 7 of the Constitution, which in a country like Sordland is extremely unlikely. The Constitution protects the individual rights on paper, but those who uphold and enforce the law pay little attention to such legalities. It often gets worse when the justified legal cases like these are made and appealed to the courts. The general outcome is always oppressively unjust. Unfortunately, nobody expects this case to even reach the Supreme Court. Okay. In a shocking move, Governor Felix Braun has issued a resettlement order that permits the eviction of British citizens suspected of supporting the BFF and dividing up their communities. This heinous policy is clearly a violation of human rights and is a blatant attempt to target the British community. The Workers' Party of Blodia, the Communist Party of Sordland, and the Civil Rights movements have all condemned this authoritarian policy, which has reminisced in the worst practices of oppressive regimes. It is outrageous that such policies are only possible in Tarkin's so-called special zone, which is nothing more than a tool for the government to enforce its power over the British population. Rather than relying on authoritarian policies to address this situation, we urge the government to grant more autonomy to Bergia, allow the region to elect their own local government, and make decisions that reflect the needs and desires of the British community. The special zone of Bergia has given a governor immense powers that can easily be abused, leading to policies that violate human rights and threaten the stability of the region. It is time for the government to take action and abolish the special zone, allowing for a more democratic and just system in Bergia. The radical stands with the British community in their fight for justice and equality. Women's March. In the conservative stronghold of Enrica, protesters organized by the Swedish League of Women bravely called for gender parity in the classrooms. Like us, these women hope that President Rayne will use his time in office to fix Sordland's notorious sexist public education system and give young girls the university preparation that they sorely need, as opposed to housewife training. A small group of counter-protesters were also present, but drowned out by the cries for equality. Freedom! Sordland's boys no longer forced to fight. One of Sordland's most backwards tradition has finally been reversed. As of now, young men are freed from the requirement to join the Swordish army upon coming of age. High school boys are rejoicing on their newfound ability to enter university or the career of their choice upon graduating. While military analysts point out that President Rayne's reversal of mandatory conscription will lead to a smaller but more professional army. We are just happy that many young students don't have to align with the government's aims and will no longer be forced to fight for them. There's so much. They really love typing this game. Did you know that? They really like just having the news. Okay. Amid spiking tensions. Reports from Eastern Maricopa show two Vaxlandian aircraft carriers patrolling the Marquian Sea around Hageland Island. A massive show of naval force amid a spiking tension with Magnolia. Solid ports could interpret this as a provocation of the region, say experts. The sudden and simultaneous appearance of the two carriers, accompanied by naval cruisers, destroyers, and aircraft, comes as Vaxland escalates criticism of Magnolia's increasing control over Hageland and increasing forays around the island. Our diplomacy disappoints. A new diplomatic initiative presented by the foreign ministers led to major disappointment when President Rayne went to Raklovich, only to come back empty-handed. The meeting with President Smolak seemed to have gone negatively, diminishing the chances for closer ties between the two countries. In a time when Sordland needs to grow more regional ties, this comes as grave news. And President Smolak has declared the start of Operation Bear Trap against the separatist militant groups that plague northern Valand. The BFF, Bromberg, Agnoli, and Lesbia have condemned the mobilization order, citing that war crimes committed during the previous assault against the British people, while Sordland has not made any comments on the matter. Watchtower of Human Rights said that they will be following the development closely for any infractions of human right violations. Do you think the president of Valand could possibly commit any human rights violations? I don't believe so. He seems like a great man to me. I trust him. Okay. Construction of the H3 highway has been officially delayed for a year. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much. Useless pieces of shit. Okay. Polio case discovered. Border cities indicate that the polio outbreak in Valen has been moving towards Sordland. Specifically, there's been a sharp increase in cases in rural Urzian and nearby villages. 23 active cases. Massive protests erupted in Suzerain against Governor Braun's latest resettlement policies. Gives Governor authority to evict British citizens. Largely peaceful, tensions rose when Bergian security forces arrived to disperse the crowd, leading to some clashes. The situation in Bergia remains volatile, and has recommended the government engage in dialogue with all parties to diffuse tensions and find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Okay. And Ersin versus Sordland. The landmark court filing had been appealed to the Court of Appeals today and is under review by the Minister of Justice. The lawyer and British civil rights activist Ishmael Ersin sued Governor Felix Braun for the infringement and the constitutional right of equality before the law. The case questions the separate legal treatment of the Bludischen Deer and the extension the whole of Bergia. Ishmael Ersin argues that the government Braun's policies, including the controversial resettlement policy, infringes upon the rights of